Ted. Well, good morning. And my name is Lionel Chetwynd, and at Ted's direction, it's my privilege, my honor, my sacred duty to be your guide through the next little while as we celebrate Ted. Ladies and gentlemen, the remarkable, singular, and inimitable Jay Leno.
Thank you. It's hard to be on the stage and not try to be funny, but, you know, I have to admit I did not know Ted that well. In fact, I'm embarrassed to say, and the staff knows I do this often, the last time I saw Ted was in the hallway back here. He came up and he said, "Jay?" I said, "Yes?" "It's Ted, Ellen's husband?" "Yes! Yes, of course! Yes!" And I brought him around the corner. And I took her in the control booth. And I remember this like it was yesterday. I said, "Ellen, Ted's here." And Ellen turned around. And I saw a girl that was like 18 years old. She had a smile on her face, and I went, wow, this is a girl seeing her boyfriend for like the very first time. And you know, I know they've been together 37 years, and I've been married 27 years. And kind of maybe for the young people out there, that seems like a really long time. But you know something? When it works and it's going well, boy, it's a heartbeat. You know, it's like a Sunday afternoon. You go from the wedding, and we're here. And it went by like that. And I find it so cruelly ironic that in a town where in marriage and relationships are a joke and people laugh and I hate my spouse and who's cheating on who, the one couple that would give anything to spend another 37 years together had to be so cruelly separated. And you know, if there's anything good that can come out of this, I look at Kate and I look at Meg and I go, here are two young women that when they make the decision, they will have a role model. They can say, you know something, I want what my Aunt Ellen and my Uncle Ted had. They can do it by seeing, they saw it happen. I have so many friends that they think love is, oh, my dad hit my mom, whatever. And I know that they can look back and go, boy, I want what they had. So I just want to be brief and say that, like I said, I didn't know Ted that well. But I knew Ellen, and I knew that they had a union that, boy, it doesn't happen that often. But when it does, it goes by in a heartbeat. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Being a friend of Ted meant that you were one of many. And very often you didn't know who the other people were. You would hear their names, and their names would resonate. You'd say, my friend, whatever. And you'd say, well, that's interesting. I wonder who that might be. And one of them was my friend Billy Bob. And you'd think, come on, nobody's really called Billy Bob. You know, just get for living in Los Angeles. One of the things that, of course, happened over the last few months was that we got to put faces to these names. And one of the great treats for me has been to meet Billy Bob Harris. I know they call Dallas Big D. I call it Big H. And Billy Bob is a jewel in anyone's constellation of friends. And he's here. Billy Bob.
In the early 1970s, Larry Mahan was the reigning all-around world champion cowboy. Well, he came up to me. He was in Dallas one afternoon. He came up to me and he said, look, I'm going to go to Los Angeles tomorrow. I've got this attorney friend that's helping me with this clothing line. I think you ought to meet him. That was one of the good decisions I've ever made. So I went with Larry. I wasn't involved in Larry's business, but I sat there during the meeting. And from the beginning, Billy, I was wowed by this guy. I thought, who is this guy? What? amazing, you know, it was amazing. After the meeting was over, Ted just blew me away from the beginning. He walked over to me and we had about a 15-minute chat and got ready to leave, and Ted gave me his card and he said, "Look, Billy Bob, won't you stay in touch with me?" Well, Ted Steinberg handing me his card telling me to stay in touch with him is about like handing a terrorist a grenade. I probably called him from the airport, you know. Now here's this tall, good-looking, articulate, well-educated, nice Jewish boy from the East Coast living in the West Coast in show business. And here's this sod buster from Texas. On the surface, we had nothing in common. But through love, I found out the next 35 years that the surface doesn't have anything to do with anything. Ellen will attest to this. There's been more days that I've talked to Ted in the last 35 years than I haven't. Ted was the most inspiring, accommodating, encouraging person that I've ever met. And I have to tell you something. Ted was a city boy. Ted liked his comforts. Matter of fact, back in Texas, we might have called him a city slicker. And it never became more apparent. Larry and Jim West and Ted and I produced a rodeo down in the Orange County Fairgrounds. And you know that song about it never rains in Southern California? Well, it did. 3 days in advance. We had all the animals pinned up like this. We were feeding them. They'd go into the bathroom. The moisture, I guess the moisture amplifies the aroma of any environment. And it did there. So Larry and Jim and I went down 2 or 3 days earlier. We were getting everything ready. And Thursday night we found out there's a little problem with the Orange County fairground people. They said we had to sign this contract, and we didn't either understand it or didn't want to sign it. So we started laying the groundwork for Ted. We said, look, our big attorney from Los Angeles will be here tomorrow. Now, he's tough. He's sharp. He doesn't put up with any nonsense. And I could see these guys a little bit. I could see them. Donnie, they started kind of quaking. I thought, we're laying it in here, okay. So it was the 3-day performance, all matinees. So Ted was going to come down Friday. So the Orange County Fairgrounds opened at 12. The rodeo began at 2. We're standing back there with the bullpens, Neil, and these guys said, we told you if this deal's not signed, there's not going to be any rodeo. And the people are already coming in the stands. We said, well, you just remember what we told you about our attorney. They said, okay. Man, about 12:15 on the other side of the arena, here come Ted. He had his Stetson hat on, had his Levi's on, had his Larry Mahan boots on, had a clipboard in his hand. And he come walking right straight towards us. I mean, it was like showdown at the OK Corral. Just about the time he got to where we were, that aroma, that wind kind of shifted, and that aroma just engulfed us. And the very first words out of Ted's mouth was, "Ooh, what's that smell?" Ted worked the deal out in about 5 minutes. We had a rodeo. I know Ted is pleased with this memorial service today. But I got to thinking, what about the days, the weeks, and the months, and the years after this? What can I do? What can we all do to continue to honor Ted? Nearly everybody in this room that I know, I met through Ted. And everybody that I know I've been blessed by. Ted loved to see these relationships spring up between all of his friends. Matter of fact, he promoted it. So I got to thinking, why don't we all, in order to honor Ted, why don't all of us continue to cultivate these relationships that Ted planted? Especially the one with his best friend. We all know that Ted had a best friend. He told us about it every day. Plus, he was married to her for 37 years. God bless you, Ellen. Thank you for sharing Ted with us.